First, I want to introduce you to our competitors. Right here, we have Melissa.
Yeah, it's me, Melissa.
Actually, we're going to start to your right. Who are you? Loud and proud to the camera so everyone on YouTube watching can see it.
Christina Ellsworth.
Caleb Colvin.
I have two identical Lego sets.
Yes.
I bought them today at Walmart. They're identical. They have the same pieces. You're supposed to make the same thing with them.
Oh wait, I know those.
What I'm going to do is go to advance it next slide. Is I'm going to give you guys both 90 seconds to assemble the Legos in this bag. Go! Okay, Caleb says this is the beginning of a boat.
It is a boat.
Yep. Nice shot of that. Zoom in on that.
I don't have all the...
Alright. And Christina, what were you building here?
I thought it was some kind of vehicle.
Some kind of fun vehicle. Okay.
What's here?
I want to tell you a little bit of a story, and it's kind of inspired by what the Legos are supposed to become. I have a friend who, his name is Josh. Josh is what's known as a missionary pilot. Which means very simply, as a pilot, he would fly his plane. He was training to fly, wherever in the world to spread God's good news of salvation to anyone who would listen. Usually to lesser developed countries. And Josh trained a lot for that. But Josh's story on Earth came to a rather abrupt end earlier this year. After taking off, his plane exploded. And Josh died. I met Josh in college, and he became a really great friend. He had a huge heart for people around him. He really wanted to see everyone he would ever meet, and people he wouldn't meet, get to live beyond death. Because you see, as Christians, we have this very firm belief that life doesn't end with death. Our story doesn't end at death. As Christians, God starts our story the day we're conceived. The day life comes into existence. You're born, you're naked, you're crying because everyone's looking at you, and you're naked. And you become a little kid. You learn how to say things like no, mine, and eventually shut up. You also learn that your parents know everything. And then you hit puberty and realize they don't. My friend Josh, while he was growing up, while his story was being written, discovered that God had a part in his story. Not just Josh's story, but God's story. Because you see, God's been writing a story since the beginning of creation. Since the day he first said into complete darkness, let there be light. And light just sprang, just from the sound of his voice. I'm pretty good at creating stuff, but I can't create stuff just by talking. And he formed humans in his own image. He gave us a soul. No other creature in existence got a soul like humans did. We're special to God. And as he tells the story from beginning all the way through, humans pop up here and there all over the place. He chose a country called Israel to be his people, and they kept screwing up. They did. The entire Old Testament's filled with it. And it's always because they wanted to write their story first. Because you see, they were confused. They thought their story was more important. They thought their story was bigger and was the best. That their story deserved the most time and effort. But in actuality, their story was so short in the long run, in the view of all of history. God's story started centuries ago. And it's still going today, and it's going to keep going. And as Christians, we understand that we play a part in God's story. My friend Josh discovered his part in God's story. He didn't know how his part of it would turn out, though. Because Josh's story is not done. We need to know the story. How many of you guys would jump to the last chapter in a DVD? Or the last chapter in a book? Does it make as much sense as if you've read the whole thing?
No.
Okay. You're living, you're not in the first chapter of the story. To make sense of where your life is right now and why it is the way it is, you need to look back at the older chapters to see what's happened before. How was it building something knowing that that was supposed to be a plane and not knowing it beforehand?
This is a plane.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a boat.
Yeah, that was supposed to be a plane. But they didn't know that beforehand because they didn't read the previous chapters. All this to say, you guys are living in God's story whether you like it or not. Whether you believe it, whether you accept it, you are. Our goal at Friday Night Flood, Wednesday Night Live, is to help you figure out where you fit in that story. It's kind of our theme for this year, the storyline idea. Where are you in God's story? And that's what we want to help you guys do this year. That's why we're here. Josh understood that if his story, if his part here on earth ended, his story wasn't done. The computer wouldn't be thrown away, the document wouldn't be erased. For those of you who remember the typewriter wouldn't have run out of ink. He knew that if his time here on earth ended, his story wasn't done because he was living in God's story and God was doing the writing and would continue his story as part of it. You won't know that you're what you're building to until you find what your part is, until you find out what God wants you to build. You won't know what you're doing. You won't understand why things are going the way they are until you understand what's happened before, until you see what God's done before, what He's allowed to happen, and who He's used to do great things.